Renowned for its breathtaking 29,000-kilometer coastline and supporting an enormous range of marine life, from fish to seabirds to marine mammals, Newfoundland boasts one of the most diverse and unique ecosystems in Canada. Often called the seabird capital of North America, Newfoundland supports more than 350 different species of seabirds, some only being found in the areas surrounding Newfoundland and Labrador. As well as being a hotspot to seabirds, Newfoundland is also one of the most spectacular places in the world for whale watching. Every year, the world's largest population of humpback whales visits Newfoundland waters, along with another 21 species of whales and dolphins. In addition, the water's abundance of fish and shellfish provides the province with $1.6 billion industry that provides over 17,500 people from over 400 communities with jobs. It's clear that the outstanding diversity and natural resources that Canada's Atlantic Ocean provides ought to be protected.
But Canada's east coast is under threat from the interests of huge oil conglomerates that wish to exploit and pollute the Atlantic Ocean for their own financial gain. Currently, there are 4 oil rigs operating in Canadian oceans, all of which are in Newfoundland. They are the Hebron, Hibernia, Terra Nova, and White Rose oil rigs, and together they produce 282,700 barrels, or 45 million liters, of oil every single day, accounting for over 6% of Canada's total oil production and making the province the country's 3rd largest producer of oil, behind Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Despite that, this billion-dollar industry hasn't come without drawbacks to the environment, wildlife, and communities that depend on the land and water to survive. For example, in 2005, it was estimated that around 300,000 seabirds died each year in Newfoundland from oil pollution, a number that had undoubtedly risen nearly 2 decades later.
Another way oil rigs are harming Newfoundland's waters, other than outright killing the organisms that live there, is by contributing to global climate change. Along with volatile organic compounds and other air pollutants, the drilling, refining, and finally burning of oil releases immense amounts of CO2 and other greenhouse gases like methane into the atmosphere, contributing to global warming. In 2008, merely the production and refining of oil, the burning of it aside, accounted for 15% of Newfoundland's total emissions. Continuing to drill for oil also contributes to climate change by increasing Canada's reliance on fossil fuels, taking it away from investing in more sustainable sources of energy like nuclear or hydro.
Likewise, the damage of oil rigging spreads further than just the environment. The effect on surrounding communities can be extremely destructive at best. When huge corporations decide to introduce oil rigs near a community, the fishing and tourist economies are devastated. The number of jobs created by oil rigs will not offset the number of opportunities lost in other industries. We are also missing the opportunity to create more sustainable jobs for our future. Many Indigenous communities are harmed the most by these offshore oil rigs. Currently, 8 Mi'kmaq representatives are fighting hard for the safety of their communities. In the Bay du Nord, offshore oil rig development is a massive threat to surrounding areas. The Indigenous legal advocacy group, Mi'kmaq Waldapludagon, Inc., says that a single oil spill from Bay du Nord oil rig development could ravage the population of Atlantic salmon, one of their key food sources.
Even more concerning than the oil rigs already in operation is Newfoundland's ambitious and equally ecologically devastating plans to ramp up oil rigging in their waters. According to the federal energy regulator, Newfoundland is on track for producing more than 650,000 barrels of oil daily by 2030, an increase to over 300% of what it is currently. How is it that in the same year Canada promises to produce 40% less annual emissions than they did in 2005? It would have also more than tripled its oil production on its east coast. It goes without saying that this massive boost to oil rigging would have detrimental effects on the environment. Canada's current up emissions first and worry about them later attitude is unacceptable, and if the country continues down this path, it's sure to miss its 2030 pledge.
Thankfully, communities that would be affected by oil drilling in the Atlantic are starting to voice their outrage. In an ongoing court case, the $16 billion deal between Prime Minister Trudeau's government and Equinor, a Norwegian oil company, was protested by a group of Mi'kmaq tribes that say that Trudeau's government was negligent in their duty to educate Indigenous communities on the consequences of expanding oil rigs before going through with the project. Hopefully, by protesting, the Mi'kmaq will be able to preserve their territory and their way of life.
Unfortunately, we cannot expect the government to listen until a great deal of people have spoken out. As citizens of Canada, it is our duty to hold our government accountable when we believe they're doing something wrong. To help stop big oil from ruining our country's east coast, it's essential to get involved. You can do your part by writing to Trudeau's office or the House of Commons to speak your mind. Don't underestimate power in numbers. Get involved with a local environmentalist group. Turn to social media to educate others on a large scale. Whatever you do, don't stand idle and let big oil spoil Newfoundland's pristine ocean.